Welcome to the Daily Word, verse by verse. Grab your Bibles and follow along as we study the book of Galatians. Keep in mind, I am using the Holman Christian Standard Bible. So if you're using a different translation, the read is different, but the message is the same. Also keep in mind that these Daily Word, verse by verse studies are uploaded to my YouTube channel, BP The Bible Perspective. That's BP The Bible Perspective. So I can share in the videos and to subscribe to BP The Bible Perspective. We are in chapter 4, and we're going to pick it up at verse 3. Let me go back and read for continuity. What I am saying is this: as long as an heir is underage. Now remember, he had already said that if you are of faith, then are you Abraham's seed and heirs according to the promise. So he says the heir is subject to guardians and trustees until the time set by his father. So also, when we were underage, we were in slavery under the elementary spiritual forces of the world. I'm going to defer this explanation here to when we get to verse 8. Let me say what he is talking about, and it's going to be very interesting. The elements of the world really refers to all of man's systems, beliefs, religions, okay? And that's what he is referring here, okay? So verse 3 again, so also when we were underage, we were in slavery under the elementary spiritual forces of the world. These worldly. By the way, Christianity there's a part of Christianity that's worldly. We don't think of it worldly. In fact, I don't. Even today, when you hear the term spiritual, right? A person is spiritual. That's actually, they're worldly and they're fleshly. All right. Verse 4. Again, I'm going to come back and when we get to verse 8, and then I'm going to come back to this and include this because Paul gives a little more detail down in verse 8. Verse 4 says, "But when the set time had fully come, God sent his son, born of a woman, born under the law, to redeem those under the law, that we might receive adoption to sonship." Now, another interesting statement here. When the set time had fully come. You ever wonder why God did not immediately save Adam? Here's the thing, because God had a plan, God's counsel, God's purpose for creation, and God had a purpose for everything that we see here. Now, it has been said that Jesus would have died for one. Well, he didn't die for one. In fact, he waited many thousands of years before he came. And that's what he's talking about right here. When the fullness of time came, that fullness, however God defines that, when the set time had fully come, right, then God sent his son, born of a woman, born under the law. Now, notice the term son. The term son, as we defined in the last video, remember it is not referring to a child who's birthed into a family, but a mature son in an equal relationship, partnership with his father. This speaks, of course, to the human nature of the divine nature of Jesus. Jesus is 100% God while being 100% man. So we get into this kind of that mystery of what the Trinity is and the nature of Jesus Christ. Notice it says he was born under a woman, born of a woman. So that speaks to his human nature. In fact, Jesus is fully God. He is God with two natures, human and divine. So he says he was born of a woman and then born under the law. When Jesus walked here on the earth, he ministered under the old covenant. And that is why you will find when he would work a miracle, for example, or heal someone, he would tell them, now go offer the sacrifice that Moses commanded. However, notice his purpose, verse 5, to redeem those under the law, that we might receive adoption of sons. So the word redeem means to buy back, to buy. In other words, he canceled our debt. He redeemed those under the law, that we might receive adoption to son. That is why, remember he already said that the law didn't give life. The work of Jesus on the cross gave us life. Now what we're seeing, that it not only gave us life, it gave us a whole lot more. Not only, notice this, so he redeemed us from the law that we might receive adoption to sonships. Now this word adoption, especially in the Roman context, means when the adoption process, you could be an orphan, but when the adoption process happened, you were fully a part of the family, as if you were born into that family. That's how strong this word adoption is. So that we might receive adoption as sonships. Verse 6. Because you are his sons, and notice the word again, son. This is God has brought us into this wonderful relationship with him. He says, God has sent the Spirit of his Son into our hearts, the Spirit that calls out, Abba, Father. What an awesome promise here. If you are obeying the law, then you are fearful, you're dreadful, because you always fear failing the law. He said, but then that means you're not following God. Because what God has sent in your heart, what is crying out in your heart, is Abba, Father. And that term, Abba, Father, the word Abba is a term of endurement, a very intimate term of endurement. It would be much like when your child, or when you call your parent, your father, by that term of endurance name. Maybe not Abba, but Daddy, Papa, something like that. Here's the interesting thing though. See, only you can call him that. In other words, I can't call your father Daddy, Papa. You have that unique, intimate relationship with your parent, right? And that's what he's talking about. Notice this. What the work of Christ has done, it has brought us into this relationship, this intimate relationship with our Heavenly Father, not as a slave that dreads failing him, but as a son. So then he says, verse 7, so you are no longer a slave, but God's child. And since you are his child, God has made you also his heir. So our eternity looks great. In Romans 8, Paul says, that's why the sufferings, whatever sufferings we may suffer in this life, look what we have. Okay? Look what we have. And I will also say this. This is something that should be rightly divided, properly interpreted when you read other scriptures. See, we're sons of God. And when you get into the studies, the prophetic studies, especially in Revelation, you see different groups that God has. For example, 144,000 is referred to as the first fruits of God. Right? Then you have others who have come out of great tribulation and they serve God in his temple day and night. But always remember this, we are his sons. We are his sons. Go back for a moment when I said, when he says that in the fullness of time, that God sent his son. And I said that term, it kind of signifies that God had a plan and a purpose, right? That is being revealed to us. But one of the things is he's gathering his family right now. his sons, right? There are millions of us, untold, whatever number it is, we don't know, but God knows. But we're sons. That's why the New Jerusalem is going to be so big, 1,400 miles square. You know, we are sons of God. So he said, you're no longer a slave, but you are a God's child and the heir of God. Verse 8 in the next video. I'll see you then.